People watching at home, we have live attorney Dave Betras on the phone lines. From
Marion County.
From Marion County. Sir, I just read your entire Facebook post, so the people are informed of what you have to say. Is there anything you would like to add to that? As we talked on the phone right before, you said people were critiquing your grammar. Sir, as a lawyer, your grammar should be better.
Grammar.
Stupidest, right? Is that
stupidest? Isn't a word, sir.
I was a little bit angry when I was making that post because I saw them in some of the text messages where they were making fun of the employees. The one employee they were talking about is a hardworking public employee, and they were making fun of her body, which to me is gross. Okay. And, when I was reading those text messages, I was completely upset. So I just grabbed my phone and I did a talk to text. I didn't put it through AI. I know you shouldn't use the words like most stupidest and stuff like that, but that was the raw emotion coming out to me. The whole point wasn't my English. The whole point is you can't be the arsonist and want to come in and be the fireman. Okay, my whole point, as I told you guys on your show, don't forget I was on your show.
I told everybody that too.
These two are not rocket scientists. Okay, I told you, and I could have predicted that this was going to happen to that office. And what I feel so bad about is the black eye it gives public servants. A lot of people think that people that work for the government, they're lazy, they don't work hard. Yeah, sure, there are people like that, but most of the people that work in that clerk of court's office are hardworking people and try to do a diligent job under very arduous circumstances. I equally feel bad for our common pleas judges who must rely on that office to make sure justice gets meted out properly. And anyone in a position of leadership, elected position of leadership, that uses racial language like that is a job given to them, entrusted to them by the public.
Yeah.
That is a public position. To me, to use that language privately and the way he used it, he's a racist. He should not be in that office. Right. He should do the noble thing, what samurais used to do, and commit self-immolation and resign.
Seppuku, as it was called.
If he won't resign, there is a way to remove him. Now, it's very difficult. I've done it one time years and years ago, but there is a way to remove him. But everyone, I'm a Democrat. I'll give Gino, who's the commissioner? Gino. God.
He came in last week too. Gino did. He stopped by. Who do you want me to look up? Commissioner of Mahoning County?
No, Gino DeFabio, the county commissioner.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's his name,
yeah.
Right? He had the guts, the Republican.
Yeah.
To tell the guy to resign. The two Democrats, they were like, he needs to apologize. No, he doesn't need to apologize. He needs to resign.
Yeah.
He needs to resign using that kind of language. And she came in making that kind of money. Now, she was on your show, if you remember, saying she was working 80 hours a week. Do you guys remember that?
Yep, sure do.
Okay. If she's working 80 hours a week, tell me in God's good green earth how she gets hired by the Trumbull County commissioners to represent their clerk's office at $250 an hour. Tell me how that happened.
Yeah, we saw that in the text. Or in the that
doesn't even make sense.
For those watching at home, what's the average? What's the average for something like that? Because I don't think everybody at home realizes how much that is
$250 an hour to represent a government is the going rate around here. But my point is, she said she was working 80 hours a week for the $155,000 a year she was earning.
Yes.
Earning, I think, $60 less than the county prosecutor.
Yes.
Lynn Morrow, who, by the way, is doing an outstanding job. But Lynn Morrow makes $60 more than Jen Ciccone did. And
Right.
Jen Ciccone said she was working 80 hours a week. And while she's working 80 hours a week, she picked up another job at $250 an hour. The greed and the thumbing the nose to the public and to those public servants, I feel so bad when I walk into the clerk's office. Those people are dejected. The morale in there is the poorest I have ever seen. They feel embattled. No one should have to go to work feeling embattled. No one's physical stature should be made fun of.
Right.
By their boss.
And you're expected, and I've said this a million times on the podcast, you're in that position. You're supposed to be better than the average person. You're not supposed to be racist. You're not supposed to be doing these ridiculous things. You're supposed to be better. That's why we put you there. Because the voters, you convinced the voters that you were that. And now you're not supposed to be there. You got to get out.
If you want to be a public servant, you're not going to be rich being a public servant. The whole idea about being a public servant is to serve the public.
Right.
And to get paid a fair wage. Now, look, let me just give you an example. Lynn Morrow. I can guarantee you she was knocking down a lot more money than what she's making now. But she's a public servant. She understands and appreciates that concept. These two people do not.
Yeah.
Do not. And their private conversations, how gross. And but we should have seen this. You see, he just put an R after his name. He didn't even have to file a treasurer because he spent less than $1,000 on his campaign. And just because he had an R after his name, he won. Danny DeCenzo, who is a qualified lawyer, who was running that office very efficiently, got thrown out because he had a D after his name. And whether you're the clerk of courts has nothing to do with what the National Democratic Party has to say about something.
Right. Right.
People have to educate themselves on these races. These are important positions. Like that title office is a moneymaker for the county. You don't have to go, if you live in Mahoning County, you don't have to go to Mahoning County. You can go to any clerk, you can go to any title office and get your title work done. That's a sheer moneymaker for the county. That thing should be ramped up and pumping stuff out and making money for the county. Instead, he fired people. It was hours to get it. I had to go to another county to get my title work done.
Betras,
But him using that racial epithet, to me, was gross, disqualifying, and now he's saying I'm not resigning.
So
These are people.
I have two questions for you.
Listen to me. No, you have to understand that. You have to understand my passion in this.
I love it. I love your
She
passion.
was a judge. She was a freaking judge. Okay? Of a municipal court in Struthers. She lost the race by 10 points. That's a blowout in election terms. Said that she won in a landslide and then sued us and the two Republican board members and accused us of committing felonies to rig the race in her behalf. And Mike Ciccone filed that lawsuit. It was absolutely, incredibly stupid, ridiculous. And unfortunately, we couldn't sanction Mike because we have a Rule 11 in our pleadings. Like, as a lawyer, you're not allowed to file BS pleadings. But in election contest actions, it doesn't apply to that. He made outlandish allegations. Okay? On election night, she was saying, I won on a landslide. They fixed it. If anyone was paying attention to that, they should have seen that. And Kathy McNabb Welsh, they have slammed her. Let me tell you something about Kathy McNabb Welsh. I don't know what her politics are. She's one of the smartest lawyers I know, and had that office humming.
And that was for those at home. For those at home, that was the person who was there before Jennifer in the clerk of courts working before her.
And she was making like 80-some thousand a year. Then Jen comes in, goes to 130, and then 155.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then tries to justify it. Get on your show and justify her BS. And now, I guess since the money isn't flowing, Mike's no good now.
Right.
Huh?
So,
no, you don't get to do that.
So I have a question about your post. I have a question that I think a lot of people are wondering. When Jen stated, she recently made a post where she's like, look what you made me do. She was posting Taylor Swift's song in the background. Mike, look what you made me do. And she is saying, like, she's basically admitting through those text messages and sharing those text messages now that she knew about all this stuff. She posted the picture of Michael's wife with the black eye. And she like, is there anything like could she get in legal trouble for holding on to that information, almost like blackmail? Or is that not how that works?
Unfortunately, I think one of your people commented, domestic violence is not a mandatory reporting. Under the law, certain people must report abuse if they see it. Elderly, children. I do not believe domestic violence. If a police officer finds out about domestic violence, it's a mandatory reporting. But my understanding is her husband is a police officer. If she showed her husband that this guy was beating his wife, he should have done something.
Yeah.
As morally, just like, hey, your boss is beating his wife and you're working for him. Maybe you should do an intervention or something.
Yeah.
But as long as she was getting that money, man, he was God's gift to creation. Now he's a no good POS. No, he was a no good POS before, and he is now. The only difference is she got tossed out. Now she wants to come in and play the hero. She doesn't get to do that. The dagger's in her hand, and the blood is dripping from her own dagger, from her own misdeeds. You don't get to do that.
No, you're right. You're right. So where do we go from here, Betras? What's next? What happens? Does this guy's not going to commit seppuku as you want in him to back out?
Because he couldn't make the money he's making right now if he tried. He'd have to rob someone.
Yeah, he's going to have to go work at Walmart. Nobody's going to hire him. Walmart might not hire him.
So what has to be done is there is a way to remove a county official.
Okay.
And I believe Chris Anderson, who I know you guys love, but at least
he's
Chris
calling
and
the
Tom
pod.
McCabe, at least Chris and Tom McCabe are on the same page.
Right.
And Chris doesn't even get the appointment. If Mike Ciccone resigns, the Republican Party committeemen appoint his replacement. That's one of their statutory duties. You know, Mahoning County is cut up into precincts. Each precinct has a committee person, one Democrat, one Republican. Okay. If there's an opening in a county office, those committeemen pick the replacement until the next election. Okay. Now Chris has no play in the game. Chris said you should resign. This is disqualifying. Tom McCabe and Gino DeFabio, the county commissioner. The other two county commissioners, you know, Carol had to remind us she was working 55 years for the county. I don't know if you saw her quote. And then Anthony goes, well, I don't know. No! Stand up and say resign. Every office holder, the judges can't. They can't get involved.
Right.
But every other office holder should be calling for his resignation.
Why can't the judges get involved? Why can't the judges get involved?
Because they're not allowed to get involved in political frays.
Okay.
If a judge is attacked, he's not even allowed to defend himself.
Huh. I didn't know that.
They wear the black as a symbol of impartiality. So they're not allowed to engage in any kind of partisan politics.
So then why do they have a D or an R by their name when they get elected? That's stupid.
No, only in the appellate and Supreme Court races. County court, common pleas, and below, no.
Oh, okay.
You run in a primary, but then when it gets to the general election, there's no D or R after the name.
Okay.
And I don't think there should be a D or R after any judge's name. I'm sorry.
I agree.
We've had great judges lose. And I'll tell you, down in the 10th district, down in Columbus, they had great jurists, but because they were Republican, they all got tossed. Okay? You shouldn't get tossed because you're a Republican if you're a judge. You should get tossed because you're not doing your job. And so the state legislature did that because the Democrats actually got 3 seats on the Supreme Court because no one knew they were Democrats. And then once they changed that rule, and Ohio is such a Republican state, it'll be all Republicans. When you have one-party rule, that's never good for a community. It's never good for the state. Never good to have one-party rule. Never.
Yeah.
It's not good for anyone. People should have to compete for your vote. That's when you get the best person, when they have to compete for your vote. When they don't have to compete for your vote, you get nuts. And gerrymandering, not to get on my soapbox, and both blue states and red states do it. They put the crazy rights and the crazy lefts, they throw them in a room and they go, hey, go get shit done for the American people. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like the people, like the normal, moderate, in the middle people were like, well, I don't like what she's saying. I don't like what he's saying. And the whole country's shut down now. And this is what we've devolved into.
Yep.
Okay? But you know, I was on your show. I could have predicted this. Now, here's how you get rid of Mike.
Okay.
You have to go to the last gubernatorial election. You have to file a complaint and then get 15% of the people that voted in that election to sign a petition. And then you file a lawsuit. And it's either a judge or a jury. And then malfeasance, misfeasance, drunkenness, certainly using a racial epithet would be disqualifying. And then you have a trial, and then the court with its equitable powers can remove him from office. But that's a huge undertaking.
Yeah, no, it sounds
that's
like it.
It's about 15,000 signatures. And so it's pretty hard to get. But if I were the chairman right now, I mean, Chris knows what he's doing. But, you know, Chris doesn't get to a point. Tom McCabe, this is Tom McCabe's appointment. I mean, as far as I know, every Republican office holder has signed that letter asking him to resign.
Right.
But the pressure needs to be ramped up.
I mean,
you can't say resign and then leave.
The clerk of court's office cannot be super efficient right now. There isn't a lot going on over there right now. There can't be, right? I mean, who wants to work for that guy?
How about if you are the employee that they were making fun of her body,
right?
And saying if she kisses my ass enough, I'll let her keep her job. How?
That's a terrible boss.
What kind of a mindset do you think that employee has? Let alone the employees she works with. How do you think they go into work feeling every day? You think the morale is good?
Yeah.
And yet they go in there and they do their work. And the judges, that clerk of court is so integral to the judges. They got to be pulling their hair out, and they can't say shit with a mouthful. They can't.
Yeah.
They need people like me and other lawyers to stand up and say, resign, dude. Just resign. You're embarrassing us. This is making national news now.
Do you think
that's all we need?
Do you think he'll resign? Do you think he'll resign eventually or no?
No. You'll have to. You're going to have to forcibly remove him. He won't do it.
That's crazy.
He's going to dig his heels in and say, "Oh well, you know, I know I had the allegations of beating my wife, and I know that I had the allegations of, you know, making fun of my employees and just making a total shit show of the office, and you know, but I'm going to dig my heels in and not resign."
Right.